Good evening. I'm Selwyn Collins, your host of CWS Conversations with Selwyn. Thanks for joining us this evening. And those of you who are joining us for the first time, a special thank you. It is always a pleasure to welcome you and welcome new listeners to our audience. Tonight, I want to talk a little bit about giving, the importance of giving without attachment, giving unconditionally, giving without expectations. I don't know, I know in my personal experience, there is something that gets evoked when you give unconditionally. You just give something without expecting anything in return. And somehow or the other, maybe not then, maybe not even soon after, something comes back to you, or some things come back to you. Oftentimes, we are not aware, we're not conscious that the things that we are receiving might be as a direct result of something we might have given a long time ago. But that is not important. What is important is that you're part of a rhythm of giving and receiving, part of the rhythm of emptying and filling. You know, I often use this analogy: how can you receive if you offer a full cup? And so I always believe that one of the important aspects of giving is that you might empty your cup, so that you might receive, so that you might empty it again. And it is that rhythm, the gaps between the giving and the receiving, is where your true divinity lies. And that to me is what really inspires us and really it embodies our humanity, that ability to give and to give without thinking about it, without thinking that I have given 10, so I expect 20, to give without caring what the person does with what you've given to them. These are forms of giving without attachment. And I think it's a powerful thing. Tonight, our guest in the studio is a philanthropist, and she is going to talk to us about philanthropy and giving and why she gives and all these wonderful things. So I anticipate a packed show tonight, and I don't want to spend too much time on my monologue, so I'll take a short break and then we are back. And those of you joining us for the first time, I'm Selwyn Collins, your host of CWS. The lovely, smiling young lady next to me is Denise Allen. Denise, good evening.
Good evening to you.
Thanks for coming on CWS.
I so appreciate the invite.
You're quite welcome. Let me get right into it. Denise is the executive director and founder of the nonprofit organization Mission Educare. Her professional career spans over 20 years in information systems, implementing large-scale global systems, program management, and process improvement in the pharmaceutical, entertainment, and telecommunications industry. She held various roles in Big Five management consulting, Fortune 500, and nonprofit companies, including PricewaterhouseCoopers, AT&T, Borlex, now Bayer Healthcare Pharmaceuticals, or Organon, now Sharing Plow, and Teach for America. Denise received her BBA in computer science from Baruch College, City University of New York, and an MS from Stevens Institute of Technology in New Jersey. Born in the Bronx, New York, and lived in New Jersey most of her adult life. Both of her parents originated from the Caribbean island of Montserrat, which she first visited as a child, and was her initial exposure to international communities, and etc., etc. Why rob our audience of the richness of Denise Allen when we could ask questions, right? Denise, briefly tell us who Denise Allen is and what drives her.
Well, first and foremost, I am a child of God. So I declare. As you was mentioning in my bio, my background is technology, but what I love is giving back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very important that you incorporate the idea of service and giving back in everything you do. So born and raised in the South Bronx, to Caribbean parents. My parents actually met here in New York. They didn't even know each other in Montserrat. They met here, had 5 children. I have two brothers, two sisters. One brother passed on, but I have one living brother, two sisters, and I'm the youngest of the five. And our household in itself was really based on love, based on education,
Mm-hmm.
and based on just really sharing to each other. So that those foundations really transformed my life and went into my career and how I am now.
Wonderful. I think you do more justice to your bio than what I did just now, reading that summary. Has your past in any way influenced who you are today?
Absolutely. Especially for my parents, those were the two most inspirational people in my life. My mother is a giver by nature. In fact, sometimes we feel she gives too much because she would give everything she have to everyone. My father is such a hard worker and responsible person that he instilled those values in me. Like I can remember him having two jobs growing up. He was the sole breadwinner in the household for 7 people in the household. He was the sole breadwinner. But we never lacked for anything. Like I never felt that I was missing out on anything, or I never felt that I was less than my friends and other family members. So those two values of working hard for my father and service for my mom really inspired me to what I am doing today.
Tell us a bit about your philanthropic motivation. Why education and why developing communities in particular?
Okay, so I'm the executive director of Mission Educare, and the goal behind that is to provide education materials, training, and infrastructure to global communities. And when I say global communities, I don't just mean Africa, or I don't mean just the Caribbean. It could be here in the States as well. And I feel that, education is the key to everything. And if you don't have a solid foundation in education, you really can't go much further. So education gives hope. Education gives faith to these children. And I wanted to be able to do my part in helping these kids fulfill their potential. Just like those values was given to me from different teachers and different people in my life.
So prior to starting Mission Educare, which is also known as
Mecca.
Mecca, I like that. You worked in information systems for many large companies. Did you ever think that one day you would be running a nonprofit and doing work in Ghana, Kenya, and Arusha, Tanzania, to name some?
I never thought it would go that far. I thought I would be doing service in my local communities. But due to technology, I was afforded the ability to travel to many places. So I was able to see, different communities and some of the struggles that they had. So once I had the opportunity to visit a friend of mine who was living in Kenya, that was the first time when it really hit me hard that I need to be doing something better with the network of people that I was affiliated with. I need to do something better with all the skills and the blessings that I received. I needed to just feel like I needed to share what I had with others. So when I was visiting Kenya for the first time, my friend who's living there was telling me about the school systems there where they didn't have the bare essentials like pencils, like paper to write on. They never saw a computer in person. So what I decided to do was take up a collection of just friends and family, to say that, hey, while I'm there, let's see what we can do to help these kids. So just from asking, people donated more than I could ever have believed.
Wow.
They just came out of the woodwork. Colleagues, people that didn't even know that well, decided to just donate. And what we was able to do by just asking was to provide shoes for an entire school district. Now, prior, these kids was walking for miles and miles and miles, taking hours to get to school barefooted. So we was able to give them shoes and with the leftover money to buy book bags for them, which is like hitting lottery for these kids because coming from someone who didn't have a pencil or any clothes or any shoes, now they have brand new shoes to walk in. They had brand new book bags to carry their papers and pencils in. It was just such a large blessing to them.
Were you daunted in the beginning when you first walk us through when you realized because of your friend what was happening, what the reality is, and when you made that decision to do something? Walk us through those first few steps. I mean,
Sure.
yeah.
So first of all, the visual is a big impact. So she
Uh-huh.
would actually send pictures of these different schools. So it kind of broke my heart to see that, what are these children writing with? They had little stubs of pencils, they had scraps of paper, and it just made me think, well, how are they learning if they don't have the proper tools to use? And then there was clips of the children's attire of, bare feet, and they're getting like different sores on their feet as well, with torn, scraps of clothes to wear. So it just, broke my heart. So I started to show those pictures to my friends and family, to say, well, this is what's happening in other parts of the world. What can we do to help these children? Because we're blessed, we're all, working, we have jobs, we have things here. So what can we do to help these others? And it wasn't a tough conversation because once people saw it, they was immediately impacted and wanted to do whatever they could to help.
So yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So we collected enough money, and what we decided to do is instead of buying, buying shoes here to ship there, we took the money to Kenya and had the shoes made there. So it helped stimulate their economy. Made. And that's how God works, right? So once you start a
Wow.
project, God just jumps all in it.
That is true.
So we had different vendors willing to like make the shoes for a fraction of the cost, and we saved so much money. That's why we was able to buy book bags, which was like an extra bonus for them. So what we learned from that is that giving is viral.
Uh-huh.
Like once you start giving, other people
Yes.
want to give as
It's a
well.
chain reaction, isn't it?
And second thing I learned is people want to give. They may not have a way to give, like they don't know who to give to, but they do want to help. So those are the two big takeaways from that one project. So this was even prior to Mission Educare. This was just me going
Right.
to vacation in Kenya, and I just made mini project out of
You
that.
know, you said something just now that just brought me present to a principle, and I'm going to exploit that principle. People want to give. They just don't know sometimes how to give
Right.
and when to give. And so we just have to find ways and means of asking the right questions and the right time.
And Selwyn, the beauty of it is that when you give in, like I'm thinking I'm going there to bless someone, but I get blessed. These children are blessing me.
Yes.
Just from their mere joy of seeing somebody way from America flying all the way there to see them, and the reaction that they're just so happy. They don't know they're poor. They don't know what they're lacking. They're just happy to be alive, happy with what they have, happy to be with their friends, and happy to learn.
Contentment.
Yes. They want to learn. They will walk miles to get to learn because they know education is the key.
Before I
to
ask
the
mine,
success.
this just comes to mind, this question. What do you think, what do you think is the greatest lesson in that forest venture? Because I might ask this question again, that you learn from them.
To just be happy with who you are.
What are your organization's criteria for deciding who gets support?
So usually we pick a director of operations for the country that we're going to or the area that we're going to. And it's usually somebody who's either from that area or has some type of ties to that area. So in Kenya's case, it was because my friend moved there and she now lives there.
All right, hold on a 2nd. Let me interrupt this, right? You're not going to get away with this. We're talking about a young lady who's this information system specialist and Fortune 500, all the different companies. Had a moment and decided, okay, I want to give. I want to be a philanthropist. And then you started this nonprofit. Now, you just mentioned director. So you have a body of people.
We have people,
No,
and they're all volunteers. Everyone has their own lives. Some have regular 9-to-5 jobs. So everyone has their own life, but they all want to give. They all want to be of service to others. Because you recognize that once you bless, you have to pay it forward. You can't just sit on your blessings and not help anybody else. So we have people who, they have titles. They're director of operations for the areas that we're going to. And they're the ones who help me coordinate in that particular area. Because I don't know anything about Kenya or Arusha or any of the areas we're going to, but I need somebody to help me navigate whether it's shipping issues or what school to go to, or just coordinating people on the ground there to help with moving boxes or what have you. So we have a team in each place that we go to. And it helps cut costs, so because you can't keep flying people from America to all these different places. So we want people there invested in their own communities and wanting to participate as well.
I am smiling, just thinking, in just anticipating what going to be the lesson of this conversation at the end of this conversation, because this is just the beginning, and I'm learning so much, and I'm excited, right? Because you're making me present to so much. The power of relationships, and recognizing that you don't have to do it alone. That there are others out there who want to give. Let that be our mantra tonight. People want to give.
Yes.
Okay, good. In your opinion, Denise, how's your commitment to educating the less fortunate children contributed to the social and economic transformation of some of the communities you have visited abroad?
Well, that's a tough question, because initially we're going there specifically to help children in a school. But once we get there, you start to see the broader issue of what's really going on. So it becomes bigger than a pencil in a school. It becomes, some parents are not in a household, or these kids are like raising themselves, or there's major health issues like AIDS and diarrhea type diseases due to lack of clean water. So the issues just compound on one another. But yet and still, these kids are getting to school. You don't have to pry them out of bed. You don't like the kids
What do you
here.
think? What do you think? What do you think motivates them to go to school? They're children.
They know. They know education is the way
They know.
out. They definitely know that. And they want to learn. They're excited about learning. Many of these kids get up when it's still dark outside. It's like 5 a.m, and they start their walk.
Their walk
They walk
to go to school.
to go to school in whatever shoes or clothes that they have to get to school, to sit in a school with 100 students in one classroom. One classroom, not in the school, one classroom, without any supplies, without any teacher materials, without any books, and they there to learn.
I am drawn to the chat room because I see a particular name. Karen G said, even got one of our friends to come from TNT to Kenya to help.
Yes.
And Karen G said again, "Hey D, I told you she's powerful. Can't say I didn't warn you." Thanks.
Thanks, Karen. But can I just mention the one TNT person that
Yeah,
she's
sure.
mentioning?
Of course.
That person's name is Dave, and he is instrumental.
Dave?
Dave Cropper from Trinidad.
Is he listening tonight?
I'm not sure if he is. I hope he is, because I definitely want to give him a great shout out. He was very instrumental in building a lot of the strategy behind Mission Educare. He's a marketing person by profession. And this is what Mission Educare is all about, using whatever skills you have to help in education. So Dave not only helped me create the strategy, but he also did all my marketing materials, created my logo, created the business cards, and used his marketing expertise, free of charge now, to help build this.
What is your magnet, Karen? Denise, sorry. You see, what is your magnet?
I don't have a magnet. I think people,
do
like
have
I
a
said,
magnet.
they want to give.
You have a magnet.
And I'm just the vessel. I recognize what my role is,
Uh-huh.
being the vessel to connect people to give. Simple as that.
I'm going to be obedient to that explanation. I'm trying to push magnet, but I like the eloquence of what you just said. That you're a vessel. Wow.
And it took a lot of praying to get there. Like, God, use me. What am I supposed to be doing?
What are some of the challenges in doing development work through philanthropy?
The challenge is actual fundraising. It takes funds to do this work. And there are so many wonderful, powerful nonprofits and NGOs out there that is saturated. And there's only X amount of dollars available to fund. So it's very difficult trying to get the money needed for the enormity of the problem. But we're doing what we can, right? So we raise what we can, and whatever we get will be of use to these children. Because it really doesn't take much to supply, clean water to a school. We think that sounds so enormous, That was our last project that we just did in September in Tanzania. And in many of these developing communities, clean water is not even existing. So children are leaving schools to go walk to streams to go fetch water that is maybe clean. You hope it's clean, but it's not necessarily clean. So in this particular school, every day 200 students would have to leave class to go walk to get water.
You've visited various states, various countries in Africa. So I don't know if it's fair to ask you a general question, but I'm going to ask it though. What is your fondest? What is one of their fond memories of Africa?
In terms of the mission work or just visiting?
No, just anything, whatever comes to mind.
Well, it's good to see all of our people everywhere
Yes,
in charge,
I
in
like that.
leadership roles, presidents, in all the banks. It's just nice to see us doing everything.
Yes,
So I do enjoy that, and I like the variance in Africa. So there's people who are doing extremely well. There's some fantastic development going on, especially in the technology space. There's a lot of great businesses being formulated. And what I noticed that many Africans may come to the States for school and university, but they go back. They go back, they start businesses, they employ their own. And it's a fantastic thing to see. But on the flip side, you see what I'm seeing in some of these schools.
right.
So there's no middle ground. There's either people who are doing extremely well, who are creating businesses, running hotels, doing fantastic things, and then you have the flip sides of the villages where they don't have like the bare essentials to survive.
Chat room, Karen G said, "Can I say we all met online?" Of course you can, Karen. Sean P said, "Hey D, are you connecting the students there with students here?"
Yes, thanks for asking that. So one of our programs is Mecca Connection, and it's kind of a play on Make a Connection, but it's Mecca Connection. And basically, it's a pen pal program in a nutshell, where we're connecting students here in the States with students that we're serving abroad. And what that does, it helps the literacy skills of both places, right? Because let's keep it real. Here in America, we're not talking that great either or writing that well. And it also kind of expands and contrasts between the two countries. So what's happening is, like, we have a school in Harlem, so the teacher would incorporate a lesson on Kenya, for example, and then she would have the whole class write letters to a particular student in a Kenya classroom, and they have been exchanging letters thus far.
That's a brilliant idea.
So we have schools in Kenya, Ghana, Ethiopia is in the hopper. Tanzania just joined on board, and here we have schools in Yonkers, Harlem, Plainfield, New Jersey.
Are you ever overwhelmed?
I'm sorry?
Are you ever overwhelmed?
It is. It's overwhelming, but it's such good work. It's really a joy to see how it all comes together and how you just take one little step at a time and it just builds on one another, and you meet fantastic people along the way and people with fantastic skill sets wanting to help.
You've traveled extensively. We were talking about that already on over 20 something countries, 90 something cities. Wow. What, in your opinion, is unique to Africa, if that is possible?
I mean, besides just the culture itself, the people, the music, the foods, that's unique. But honestly, I like all cultures. I feel like I'm a chameleon. Like, no matter where I go, I can blend in.
Right.
I lived in Switzerland for a while, and I was forced to blend in, which was another story in itself. But I do enjoy, incorporating myself in different cultures and learning about different people and being diverse. You can't be so pigeonholed and just stick to your own. You got to really expand your mind and expand other cultures and be respectful.
You spent a lot of time in Kenya.
Kenya is my favorite. I don't want to say my favorite, but it's one of the first African countries that I spent.
What can Kenya teach America?
Kenya could teach the idea of using what you have to help others and giving back. Because I do notice that about Kenya. They're very proud people, and they do help each other. they would start a business and employ like everybody, like the whole village, and the whole village is working for that company. So I do respect that, and I do enjoy seeing that. Whereas
Well,
unfortunately, sometimes here, one person make it, we're not looking back, we're not trying to bring other people in sometimes. So I would like to see that change here and take some lessons from the Africans.
what do you believe can places like Kenya, Ghana, Tanzania, you mentioned Ethiopia, teach the Caribbean?
Teach the Caribbean. Well, one thing, Africa, I don't think they segment themselves by
Right.
country like the Caribbean does, that I think the Caribbean does. Like, Caribbean tend to, I'm Trinidadian, I'm Montrealian, I'm Asian, where Africa is like, I'm Africa,
Good. That's
you
powerful.
know? So
Yeah.
I see that now changing a little bit in the Caribbean. They're trying to do the one love, one Caribbean type mantra. But I would like to see that actually formulate where we just feel that we all are one, we all here together, respect the differences,
Yes.
but unite.
I
Just
think
unite.
that is Sean, Dr. Pilgrim, was talking about the power in our diversity, and we should embrace it, as powerful tenets of our collective ethos, and not weaknesses or some things to separate us,
Right.
and say that you are better than I am, or I am better than you. I think, collectively we can do wonders, but that's another conversation. Me go to the chat room. It's jumping. Let's start with Karen G said, "How can people participate and make contributions to Mecca? What's on your wish list right now for the organization?" Go.
Okay, great question. So, first of all, we do have a website, which is
Uh-huh.
www.missioneducare.org.
www
The word mission,
mission
educare, EDUCARE. That's
educate
education care,
Uh-huh.
play on those words, .org.
.org. Okay.
And we're on Facebook and we're on Twitter. But our next project that's coming up, we're doing two. One will be in Ethiopia. And what we're doing there is we identified a school there, and we would like to do a nutrition program there. Because these children are not getting meals in the morning, which is impacting their learning throughout the day. So we want to provide some type of breakfast hearty meal for them. And the second point is we're going to build a library there. So we're going to need books. We're going to need funds to build the
I'll do
actual
what I
structure.
can on CWS to help push that.
And then the second project will be our first Caribbean project, which will be in Montserrat, where my family's from. And as you know, Montserrat was hit with a volcano several years ago. And since then, they're in a rebuilding process, so they're moving forward. But there is a community college there that we want to source some of the textbooks that's required for the college.
Nile said, "Hey, I'm proud of you." And Tanae, I hope I'm pronouncing it correct. Title of this forum: Using What You Have. Denise successfully uses her God-given talents for the greater good. As my mentor, she has helped me to understand how I can use my gifts. And then Sean P said, 100% correct. Tanae again, I often think I have very little to give. Sadly, we often take for granted the gifts we have to share.
Yes.
We all have the power to make a difference.
Yes.
And then Sean P said, good, that will give me a reason to return home. And with that, I ask, what surprised you about Kenya?
About Kenya. I was surprised at, that was the first time in Africa, and I was expecting more of what you would think of traditional attire and the traditional African. But no, they're very modernized, they're very Western in a way. So that surprised me the most. But Kenya has a fantastic nightlife and restaurants. New York can't even compare, let me tell you. I kid you not.
Don't tempt me.
New York cannot compare. In terms of restaurants and nightlife and nice hotels, it rivals any major city that you could think of. So I urge you to plan and save and take a trip to Kenya. You'll be pleasantly surprised. me as their unofficial spokesperson.
Mecca, right? Mission Educare has successfully launched and completed many initiatives. Tell us about tell us about your experience with the first successful one. Tell us what that was like.
How
How
I
did you?
felt after.
Yes. How do you feel?
It was definitely a feeling of accomplishment.
Uh huh.
It was a feeling of like, wow, we did this, because the reaction we received just blew us away. So here we are thinking that, okay, people gave, funds, and it was really no sweat off our backs, if you will. But what that did to them, pretty much changed their lives. So I don't know if you ever recall, like when you was in school and someone came to visit your classroom.
Yes.
You remember that.
Yes, of course.
You remember that for the rest of your life. So now you put that into like these strangers
Uh huh.
that look like them with a funny accent, because they always laugh at my accent, but I look like them. Right? So many of the other people who would visit them tend to be, white missionaries, which is great, but they hardly ever see black Americans
Oh.
come. Yeah.
So I want to ask this question. When you first visited Africa or Kenya, in particular, what do you believe stood out about you relative to the locals?
Well, first of all, they thought I was Kenyan.
They did.
They did. Most people thought I was Kenyan for some reason when they just looked at me. I don't know why. But I think people was just impressed that, we were there. Because Kenya is not one of the places, like in West Africa, it's easier to get to. It's direct flights from the States. Kenya, you have to, transfer over in Europe or some other place to get there. So it's a little more difficult to get there. So I think people was just, happy to have visitors. The Kenyans was happy that, Americans was coming over, to spend time there, to help. And I was able to galvanize a lot of Kenyans to help their own as well, because they got involved with the project that I was doing. So,
Let's take a break, Denise.
okay.
We are back with the lovely Denise Allen. Denise, were you ready then, and are you ready for Africa? Or to put it another way, is Africa ready for you?
Well, Africa is definitely ready for me.
Uh-huh.
I didn't think I was ready, but, sometimes you get moved
Yes.
in a way where you either could just sit and wonder, should I, or keep waiting for all the stars to be aligned, or you could just take an action and do what you can. So I became ready real quick, and I just tried to do the best I can and make what impact I could and bring as many people along the ride so that they all could feel the same blessing that I feel when I do these projects.
When is the first time, or what was it like when you first realized the enormity of this endeavor?
I would say when I actually formed the official nonprofit, the 501c3, like it was gnawing in my soul. So I had my 9 to 5 job, and I was still doing that, and I was doing this on the side, and I suddenly felt unbalanced, right? It felt, why am I doing the 9 to 5 when I really want to do this other work? So I saved, I planned, I plotted, I plotted my escape, and I end up leaving my 9 to 5, supposedly just to get the nonprofit up and running. I gave myself a 6-month time frame to get it up and running so it could be stable enough to run itself. And that 6 months turned into 2 years, and I haven't looked back since.
How long?
2 years so far.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
Congratulations.
you.
I'm going to shift a little bit.
Hmm.
What story your mother always tells about you?
My mother always talks about how much I travel. Now, this is coming from a woman who was a traveler herself.
Uh-huh.
So now when I'm traveling, it seems so bizarre to her. But I'm like, wait a minute, mother. Wasn't you the one in all these weird places yourself? So I got it from you. But, I think she is proud.
Hmm.
And she does like to say, oh, she's traveling. And she worries. Like, my mother's a worrier. Um, she protects her children.
Hmm.
She turns into like Olivia Pope when you mess with her kids, like on Scandal. She's like,
Wow.
wait, it's handled. She'll take care of anybody who messes with her kids. But I love her for that.
Who are some strong women? And you've traveled extensively. You've been
Hmm.
to Africa
Hmm.
several times.
Hmm.
Who are some strong women you admire?
Well, celebrity wise, I admire Oprah Winfrey.
Hmm.
That's my role model. I love her because of number one, her business acumen is, enough said. You don't have to say any more about
Enough
that.
said.
But her giving,
Uh-huh.
like when she created that school in South Africa, I remember that, so clearly. And just her willingness to want to change the world, especially through girls, I just find admirable. So that's somebody who, like celebrity wise, that's who I admire. I always call her my best friend Oprah because I know one day I'm going to meet Oprah.
You will.
I will. But in regular life,
Hmm.
my mom is great. She was, like I said, she was a giver. She was a teacher in Montserrat before she came to America. And she then came to America. She was a stay-at-home mom until I was in junior high school. And she really stressed education. I mean, we were the kids that always had perfect attendance in school. Like, you had to be almost dead before you could miss a day of school. Um, we was always like great grades. Like my brother was like valedictorian in school. And here's a little tidbit: like all five of us skipped the eighth grade. We went from seventh to ninth grade, all five
Wow.
of us. So she was no joke with education. She was like a parent teacher representative. So as young as 3 years old, she was dragging me to these parent teacher type events where she was like helping kids learn how to read. And I'm there 3 years old reading along with them. So I think that's where the education and the giving back and the serving come from. It's from my mom. Yeah.
What was your aha moment? We talked about Oprah just now. That's one of our favorites.
Hmm.
What was your aha moment about this philanthropic endeavor?
I think my aha moment was when it was becoming more powerful than doing my 9 to 5 job. And I knew I needed to move. I knew God was pulling me in that way, and I was resisting it. I said, oh, I'll just do it on the side, and I'll do it in my spare time. But it just became so strong that it started to affect work. So, things was happening at work where, I didn't even recognize myself anymore because, God does that. He'll just make it so uncomfortable for
Yeah.
you until you actually get up and move.
I agree.
So that's what was happening. Then I realized, okay, why am I here? I need to be doing what my passion is. So at that point, I realized that I just need to go focus on this, get this running, and just follow my passion and see where it takes me.
Let me give you a scenario. You're in an auditorium and you have about 2,000 young ladies listening to you. And some of them are complaining or saying that they have these dreams, and but they're scared. They're scared of leaving their comfort zones. They're scared of making that next step. They're scared of what people are going to say, people's opinions. And now you have the mic. What do you say to them to inspire them?
I would say I was scared too. And it's okay to be scared. And in this economy, of course, you got to be fiscally responsible, right? I'm not telling anybody go quit your job and go, basket weave. I'm not saying that. But I'm
Right.
saying plan for it. While you're doing your job, pursue your passion. Just take steps to follow your passion. And I promise you, Denise Allen is promising you that things will get aligned and you will find yourself taking the second step. and the third step, and things will just open up for you, and eventually you'll be doing what you love. I can't sit, like in my instance, I couldn't sit there waiting for Bill and Melinda Gates to give me $1 million grant,
Right.
right? I couldn't sit there waiting for Warren Buffett to say, "Oh, Denise, I like your work. Let me give you, some funds to do it." I just had to do what I could. So what I encourage, people who are in this position, just do what you can. Use what you have. You don't need a lot. Just take a step. One step takes two steps. Two steps leads to three steps, and eventually you'll be doing your passion.
How
And you'll get to a
important?
point where you won't have to do the other thing anymore.
Right. That's good. How important is personal development, like in terms of patience, understanding, and giving in philanthropic work?
It's very important. You definitely have to be patient for everything, right? Nothing comes that quick. So you have to be patient, and you have to build your craft. And that goes for any career. Don't sit there expecting, what I think I want. Just start doing. Build your graph. You're going to fail in some instances, but then just correct that failure and turn it into a lesson and keep it moving. Just keep it moving.
I believe that in order to sharpen a sword or a knife or anything, you have to keep rubbing it against something. And so I'm going to ask this question, even though you've said so often how important education is. But I'm going to ask this question just so perhaps your answer might underscore what you've been saying. Why did you choose to give towards education and not any other sector?
Because I think with education, it solves all the other sectors, right? So when you hear poverty, poverty exists because of education. So the more people that get educated, the more opportunities that open, and that's how you get rid of poverty. Even health issues, the more educated you get, that gives you more knowledge to take care of some of the issues that some of these nations are having with different health aspects. So education is the foundation and the key to solving most of the world's current major issues, I believe. And especially girls' education, because many of these girls are in forced marriages at a very young age. Many of them are not even in school at all because they are the ones who have to do the chores for the family, like getting water and doing whatever chores in their villages. So it's very important to educate these girls so that they would not have, the children that young. They would stay in school, and then the cycle would increase and get better where, they're more educated.
Sean P. asked, what will you tell them when it seems like it is not working out or the low times in going after a goal?
Dust it off and try again. There's gonna be things that don't work out, right? So that don't mean you quit and say forget it. You just dust it off. You learn, like, okay, what did I do wrong? And the second time, I bet you won't make that same mistake again. Because now you learn.
You know what, Denise? Sitting here listening to you and feeling your enthusiasm and your passion, your obvious passion, I am glad. Let me just say this tonight. I am glad it is education that you're pouring your energy into because you're such a teacher. You're such a teacher.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It is believed that one of the greatest acts of humanity is unconditional giving and to give without attachment. I said that in my opening remarks. I suppose in philanthropy, there needs to be some form of control in place to ensure the money goes to where it's supposed to go. And therein lies the paradox. In your opinion, can a philanthropist be a true unconditional giver?
That's a good question. I would say it's not unconditional, right? Especially in the nonprofit world, because
Right.
your nonprofit is for a specific reason.
Right.
So you have those legal guidelines in which you need to operate. So my focus is education, and that's in my legal setup, so that I can't go drift off and start solving other problems under my particular nonprofit. So there is conditions with that, but the unconditional part of it is that, within the realm of education, I am able to help so many people, so many children, and so many villages, because the funds and the support of the volunteers that we have, we are making an impact. And we feel the impact from these, just from the gratitude that we get back and feedback in terms of the different projects that we're doing.
Sean P said the video is stopping, and Karen said same here. Karen, I try a different bit rate and see if that works. By rolling your mouse over the video and trying a lower bit rate. Because I spoke with the streamer today, and they were saying they were having some issues with streaming with Flash. They're working on it, and I hope that doesn't truly affect our broadcast here tonight. Just let me know if you tried like a lower bit rate, like 360 or so on, and see if it works.
Can I just bring up one thing about girls in education?
Sure, go ahead.
In many of these communities, there's something that we don't think about normally with the girls. Every month, when the girls have their menstrual period, they don't have the supplies that they need for sanitary reasons. So they miss a week of school basically every month. So that's one entire week where they're out of school. So there has to be a way to get these girls, the sanitary products that they need so that we can keep the kids in the class. Our whole goal is keeping the kids in the class. So that means we don't want them out fetching water. We don't want them missing a week because you're a female and you have sanitary issues. We don't want you out with diarrhea type diseases because your water is dirty. We want to keep the kids in the classroom. That's our main goal.
Okay.
I just had to bring that point up.
Wow. Sorry. I just noticed that in the chat room they were having some issue with the streaming. Sean said, okay, the video is back without breaks. Yes, I spoke with the streamers today, and they told me that they were having some issues with streaming in Flash, but they promised that it wasn't going to affect my broadcast tonight. So, okay, Karen G said, okay, we have to work on this for the girls. And Sean P said, we must have high numbers on the site, maybe. No, we have enough bandwidth, Sean. Enough gigabyte of bandwidth. That should not be a problem. I'm sure we do have a lot of numbers, but we have enough. And Sean P said ACA. And then LOL. Okay.
Affordable care.
What is it about Kenya that drew you in?
Well, I do want to make a point. Kenya is just one of the countries we go to. We've
Right.
been to Ghana, we've been to Tanzania, and we're going to Ethiopia. But I think Kenya just drew me in because I had friends who lived there. So my
Right.
network there is large. So I'm able to get a lot done due to the fact that I know quite a few people there.
Uh-huh.
But I'm building those relationships in these other countries, like in Tanzania and Ghana. So they will be equally as important in our missions as Kenya.
I'm enjoying this conversation. Look, transmission, don't mess around here tonight. This here is my sister, and
Yes,
she's
my
a
brother.
wonderful teacher, and I intend to learn as much as I can and hope the audience learns as much as it can tonight. So, God bless this transmission. Let's have a good broadcast here. There are so many different initiatives that Mission Educare manages in Africa. Is there one in particular that is near and dear to your heart?
I think the last one we just did, the clean water,
Yes.
that's something I wanted to do. And that's a perfect example of something I didn't know how to do. Like, I didn't know anything about clean water and how to install clean water tanks and the plumbing involved. I didn't have a clue. But it's another prime example that once you just take a step, the right people come in your path to make things
And it
happen.
happened.
It just happened flawlessly.
I am liking this. What is the biggest change you've witnessed due to Mission Educare?
I would say giving these children hope, because they communicated that to me. Like, they're just really great kids there who are just so thankful that we did come there. So I see the change. And one of the projects we did was a library in Kenya. We started 3 libraries in 3 different schools in Kenya, and their grades have improved. I received notice from the principal in several of the schools. So from one year to the next, their reading grades have improved due to now they actually have books to read. So that was like, pure result
Wow.
that I can use, especially in my fundraising and different avenues where I'm explaining what Mission Educare and the impact. I now actually have proof that we are making an impact. I want to give one quick stat
Sure.
about the clean water.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2.5 billion people who never seen a toilet in the world. And daily, 2,000 children die from diarrhea type diseases due to lack of clean water. So I just find that unacceptable. Like, we have all this great technology and
That's very
power,
unacceptable. Very
and these
unacceptable.
people never seen a toilet, you know. And children are dying because of clean water. I think we could do better as a society. That should not happen.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you if you had the ears of some who can, I mean, we all can make a difference in some way.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had the ears of some who really can, I mean, just write a check.
Mm-hmm.
Not that money is everything, but money is important.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to them about that?
I would say P.O. Box 21, New Brunswick, New Jersey, 08903, Mission Educare. Definitely, we could use funds. And I think I would like to make the point that the funds that we do get do go directly to these schools to make an impact. So it would go.
How has Mission Educare changed you as a person?
It makes me more aware. It humbled me.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely humbled me because I now had to ask for help. And that's not something I'm comfortable doing.
Oh, tell me about that.
And I'm still not comfortable. I'm learning. I'm a work in progress. I am learning.
When you learn, many of us can use a dose of that.
Because you get comfortable. You're doing things on your own.
Yeah.
You're a lone ranger.
Yes.
But now I had to humble myself. Like, look, I don't know how to do a water tank. Somebody help me. Or I just don't know how to make this happen.
I remember many years ago, I must have been a child, and one of my uncles said, when you ask someone for help, is giving somebody an opportunity to give, to be larger than life.
Yes.
And so when you understand that,
Mm-hmm.
then all the other trimmings, all the other things like false pride, and you don't want people to know that you don't have, and all these things, they should erode, they should corrode and fall away. But to ask, I think it's a reverent thing to do, to give somebody an opportunity.
It's
to
funny
say,
you say that.
yeah.
Because someone told me exactly that. He told me to give other people the opportunity to be a blessing.
Yes, exactly.
And after that, now I ask.
Yes, you ask.
Yeah, I have to because I can't do it alone. I don't want to do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
And people do want to help. Going back
Exactly.
to the original point, they do want to help.
Yeah.
So.
It's like, it reminds me of the hub of a wheel
Mm-hmm.
with all these different spokes.
Mm-hmm.
Without either, the wheel probably won't make it.
Mm.
But each spoke represents someone lending a hand. And the only way they will know that they can lend a hand is if you ask. So you have the key.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when we are given these tasks, these endeavors, these great ideas, it is important that we realize it's not about us and step outside ourselves and really do give people the opportunity to thank our friend. I was about to say my friend, our friend Karen, is an amazing person,
She
and
is.
constantly is there and reminding you in different ways. Not that she's, that's deliberately reminding you of a particular thing, but just in her way of being and the lessons she share, the importance of relationship, the importance of asking, because, I can't emphasize that enough. I mean, how important it is to give people an opportunity to give. As you said in the beginning of this conversation, people want to give, but you have to let them know that you have a need,
Right.
and so we should ask.
And you start to question yourself. Like, I met some fantastic, amazing people throughout my professional career. So when you start to reflect, like, okay, why did I meet all these great people?
Exactly.
They in my life for something.
It's called
So
positioning.
now I'm able to tap into that network and ask for help in different avenues, and they're able to help me. So,
Karen G said, so what are the plans in store for Mecca in 2015? She said.
well, not to skip over 2014, I did mention the Ethiopia project and the Montserrat project, but my vision now is to somehow incorporate my technical background in some of the programs. So I don't want to just, dust my professional years of technology in the corner. I now want to be able to either teach computer science or get the kids more computer literate
Okay.
in these schools, because now when you go to these schools, when they learn about computers, the poor teachers are there trying to draw a picture of a computer on the board. They never seen a mouse, they never seen a screen, they just have no idea. So I want to get some technology in the classrooms and get the skill sets in the classroom where these kids can learn technology, computer programming. Because I think computer programming is an essential skill to know going forward. It teaches problem solving. It teaches how to be analytical in your thinking. And those skills are transferable in any career.
Yes.
So once you know how to dissect the problem and figure out an answer and get the immediate gratification of solving a problem, that could be used in any type of profession that you choose to do.
Sean P said, my kids said good night, and that they will have some more books for you soon.
Oh, thank you.
Is it difficult being you, full of passion, a strong vision for educating the underserved, doing the best you can and knowing more must be done, but feeling your hands are tied?
I don't feel bad because, like you said, I am doing the best I can. And I'm seeing progress. I'm seeing the organization growing, month by month, year by year. We're actually now part of the Global Campaign for Education, which is a coalition of different nonprofits who have the goal of providing education, around the world. So each country have their own affiliate. So Mission Educare is now part of the U.S. chapter, which is big for us because in that coalition, it's like major organizations like UNICEF and CARE, and you have like the little engine that could Mission Educare. So I feel proud that we're now part of that coalition, and we can now tap into some of the resources that
You have
are
a right
in
to
there.
feel proud.
Yeah.
You're doing an excellent job. What is a day in the life of Denise Allen when you were abroad in service working?
When I'm on a mission?
Yes,
Oh.
yes.
Well, a lot of the work is done up front here first because since our time is usually limited when we do these trips, because we don't have unlimited funds to be in Africa, we try to do as much pre-work as possible. So that's galvanizing the teams up there, assigning responsibilities of the team in the countries we're going to. And once we get there, then it's just really executing. So there again goes my project management skills of how to manage projects and assigning roles and getting things done. That implementation is always with you. So I'm able to use that
Wow.
in terms of executing these projects.
What are some of the challenges you have encountered, both at a personal level and as director of Mecca, in your pursuit to give back, developing communities?
Some of the challenges? Well, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but the fundraising is a big issue. That's not a skill set that I'm comfortable doing, and it's not a skill set that I'm good at doing. So we're looking to get more people on board to do that. But personally, it was a struggle. It was a struggle trying to get out of corporate America and doing something that's so totally different, and being comfortable with that. Because I know people are wondering, well, how is she doing this? What is she really doing,
Right.
to make this work? But they don't realize that I planned. I sacrificed, I saved, and that's something I got from my father. My father is very responsible. He's very fiscal responsible. He taught us the importance of good credit. So that all that kind of instilled in me. So when it was time to do this, I kind of used those lessons to, I had my little cushion and I had a budget on what I was willing to dip into in terms of savings or not, and I was just able to make it happen.
What in your opinion, um, holds us back when it comes to
Fear.
asking? When it
Fear.
comes fear.
And we all guilty of it, right? There's a fear of the unknown. There's the fear of rejection. There's a fear
That
of,
one right there. That one. Rejection.
yeah,
That
fear of
one.
rejection. We fear of what people are going to say. And until we, break out of that, we're going to stagnate ourselves. We're paralyzing ourselves. There's a verse in the Bible, 2 Timothy 1, verse 7. If somebody could text it to you. But it's basically that saying that God didn't give us a spirit of fear. He gave us power, love, and a sound mind. And I like to use that because God doesn't expect us to be fearful, that He expects us to be powerful and, going after our dreams. And I'm paraphrasing, so please don't.
No, but message. Have you ever collaborated on a project with other philanthropists?
I haven't yet, but I want to do that. There's one group that I've been eyeballing that I would love to work with. And that group is it's a social entrepreneurship type organization. And they created Socket.
Socket.
And it's basically a soccer ball that when you use it and kick around, it generates light, generates electricity. So it comes with a little lamp that you can put inside the actual soccer ball, and it provides light. So I think that's so revolutionary
Yeah, it is.
that not only are you giving them a soccer ball, because many of these kids are using shirts as soccer balls rolled up. They don't even have a proper ball. So they're getting an actual ball, but in the end of the day, after 30 minutes of play, it generates electricity to power light for 3 hours. So now they'll be able to do their homework, after school. So I would love to work with that organization. And I made some inroads, but, now this, hopefully that'll work out.
Let's take a quick break, and I mean really quick, and
when I see the flag waving, it's a sight that's so.
we are back with the lovely Denise Allen. I want to go to the chat room. Tanae said, I often admire Denise's definition. Sorry, let me read this again. I often admire Denise's optimism and positivity. How do you handle adversity? What motivates you and helps you to not get discouraged? Be specific. Provide recommendations, resources, routines, etc.
Pray. I go to God in prayer. And when you think about it, what's really that important? No one's dying. No one is.
Say that again.
Like, what's really important? No one's dying. I'm healthy. So nothing you can say to me is going to kill my joy because I know God has all the answers, right? So I go to God with any problem I have and He solves it. He makes me realize that, okay, it's not the end of the world. Get a grip. It's not the end of the world.
When you said that, I remembered seeing Maya Angelou on OWN the other day. It was an old show. But what pulled me in was when she was telling Oprah, having had some guests over, and they were reading the scripture, and she read this part. I can't. I think it was John. So I can't remember what it was, what book it was, but it said God loves me, and the guy kept saying to her, "Read it again. God loves me. Read it again." And she said she started to feel embarrassed, and then the embarrassment subsided when she started to get it. The embarrassment subsided, and she was overwhelmed with emotion because she realized, oh my God, God loves me. There's nobody that can steal my, well, you said steal my joy. I can't remember exactly what she said, but the implication was she can do anything,
Right.
anything, knowing that God loves her. And I'm glad you said that. I am so. No one can kill your joy. You're giving us a lot of pearls tonight. Sean P said, personification of when those who have work and those who don't have get. And Sean P said, 2 Timothy 1:7, for God hath not given up the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind.
That's right.
And Karen G said, what does Denise do to relax for fun and laughter? Karen, that's one of my go ahead.
My whole
answer.
life is fun. Honestly, when you're doing what you love, every day is a circus, right? Every day is a weekend to me. Every day is fun. So to be specific, I love music.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like a concert junkie. I'm at every concert. I buy a lot of music. I listen to a lot of music.
What kind of music you listen to
All
relax?
kinds of
To
music.
relax, to relax.
To relax.
Uh-huh.
I really love all music. I know my neighbors probably think, who lives in this house? Because I'm playing everything from jazz to hip hop to reggae to soca to Latin. So I know my neighbors are wondering, like, I don't know who lives in this house. But I love music, and that soothes me and that relaxes me. I love my friends. I love my family, and I love being alone sometimes. I could be home all day, all by myself, and enjoy it.
That group of people, the Karen and the you and the Sean, who I met, they're a wonderful guy, seem to love solitude a lot. I like it. What did you discover about yourself in creating Mission Educare?
I discovered, number one, that I had to get out of my own way. Right? I let my own fears and what ifs, because just again, by being a technologist, like I'm very practical. So I had to just kind of get out of my own way, think out the box, let people help me, and just be vulnerable. And I learned I
Say
can do that.
say that
and that's
last
okay.
part again. Say it
Be
again.
vulnerable, and it's okay to be vulnerable. Be okay with I don't know how. Be okay with please help me. Be okay with I just need help, and it's okay because everybody does.
Yes, yes.
And I realize I'm not alone. There's a whole lot of people who need help. So you can help me, and I can help Karen, and Karen can help Sean, and that's how it works.
Who's inspiring you at the moment?
At the moment, I would have to give one shout out to a professor who used to work at Rutgers, and he's actually Kenyan, and he moved back to Kenya. And this man, when I first started to do the nonprofit, he created a nonprofit, years ago, and he was just so generous with his information, like literally just emailing me stuff. Here, this is what you knew, and laid out step by step by step. This is what you do, and this is how you do it. So I was able to just take his template and plug it in mine, and off to the races I go. So when the last time I was in Kenya, which was in September, I met up with him, and he's still that generous man.
What is his name?
Professor Olabai.
Olabai.
So he has no idea how how I feel about him and how helpful he's been to me, but he is just one of those people that will give, give, give. And it's funny because he and I actually visited a all-girls school in Kenya because for the last year, this gentleman in Kenya kept emailing me about this young girl who was accepted into this prestigious all-girls school in Kenya. But she comes from a very humble background, and her father passed away, and her mother was sickly and old. And, she really just didn't have the support structure to attend this prestigious school because only the number ones are in this school. And he kept calling me about her, like, can I help? Can I help with the funds? Can I help with, just getting her going? Which I didn't do anything because I didn't know him. I didn't know her. I didn't know if the school existed. So I didn't feel comfortable in asking my network to help contribute to this. So this past trip, we actually went there to visit her, and the professor went with me to the school. And this girl, she's in the school. Everything did pan out. It does exist. But she was actually not doing that well in the school because of these factors that she's worried about. Am I going to get kicked out? She's worried about her sickly mom. She's worried about her family. She's just worried about she didn't have the books that's required. So the professor actually went with me and sat with her. And I watched him sit with her and helped her figure out how to do better in math. And he spent like a private tutoring session teaching her, like, this is how you should approach these type of projects. So I'm sitting there like, wow, this man, he's just using his professor skills to teach this high school student, how to do better in her grades. So
Wow.
the whole story turned out to be very impactful because later on the next day, I actually visited one of my friends' job in Kenya, and I met a man who I never met before, and he and I was just talking casually while we was waiting for my friend to come out, and he was telling me how when he was a young student, some woman from Europe came there, took a liking to him, and paid for all his schooling for like the next years. So he was talking about now he's a successful businessman there and he helps his family. But he said, one day I'm going to help somebody who I don't know because somebody did that to me. And I said, well, I have somebody for you. This young girl right here in Kenya, she needs help. And don't you know this man wrote a check right there on the spot?
On the spot.
On the spot for me to give to her. And there was one stipulation that he wanted to see her grades improve. So he said, once I see her grades improve, I will continue. But on the spot, he wrote a check right there for me to give. And I was like, this is just amazing. Totally amazing.
I love these stories. What matters to you the most as executive director of Mission Educare?
What matters is to keep it going. Like, I don't want to see it end. So even if my life, turns another path and I go back to corporate America or whatever avenue I take, I want to see the organization continue to thrive. I want to see more volunteers get involved, and I want other people to feel the joy that I have when I help these students. So I want to see it grow. It's like my baby. I want to see it grow.
Do you have a skill set list on your website for people who might be thinking about volunteering?
It's a volunteer section, like what we need.
Okay.
And there's a form where you can fill out if you just want to get involved, and we can contact you.
What is the name of the website again?
It's www.Mission Educare, which is spelled EDUCARE.org.
Is there a phone number?
Yes, but it's better to email us at
Okay.
info@missioneducare.org,
Okay.
and that way we can get to you. We're also on Facebook, and we're on Twitter at Mission Educare. So please follow us and like us on Facebook.
For some young person who's listening and thinking about becoming a philanthropist and doing something similar, what are some of the challenges you faced in implementing Mission Educare, and how did you overcome them? Just give us two.
I think the first challenge is just creating the organization itself, the structure. Like, that was the first time I created a company. So I didn't really know what I needed to do, and legal-wise, what type of information needed to go into the documents. So I overcame it by asking, and that's where Professor Olabai was able to help me
Okay.
with that. But every day is a challenge, right? Because new projects and new requests come to our boxes like every day. And the challenge is trying to identify which ones can we tackle successfully.
Have you ever felt like quitting?
No, never.
Tell us about one initiative that gave you pause, that demanded that you go above and beyond yourself.
I would say, the libraries in Kenya.
The libraries.
Yeah, because it started out as one library, and it turned into three. And that's because two other schools came to our attention, which really needed our help.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, okay, how are we going to source books for three different schools where we could barely source for one school? And what we did, we just put out the requests to everyone, all our networks, everyone we knew, and the books just started trickling in one by one. People was giving books, and it turned into a fun event where people were like, I have 10 books, I have 100 books. Companies were like, we have a whole box of books. One guy had like maybe 10 boxes of brand new books sitting in a basement.
And you get them shipped.
And we ship those, yeah. Even schools here in New York, every year they throw away pretty much textbooks because they have new editions and they just throw away the old books. Some was still in shrink wrap. some are novels, so we was able to get all those books and send them over. Where there's a will, there's a way. And yes,
I am curious about this clean water initiative. Give us a tour of that initiative. How it came about, and what did you do?
Okay, so that project came to my attention through a friend, Leon Barber. And I met Leon, I don't even want to say friend, but I just met him at that moment in time. And he was telling me that he used to go to Tanzania frequently. And he identified a school there, and they needed clean water because the kids, like I said, was leaving class, and there was no clean water to wash their hands at all in the entire school. So he was trying to get that project done over the years as an individual, but he just couldn't get the support he needed because it's very hard to raise money if you don't have an organization behind it. So, I told him, oh, by the way, I have a nonprofit. So we decided to partner together on this project because I wanted to do an infrastructure project, something more sustainable and long lasting. So we partnered together, and we decided to do a joint effort to get this done. So he and I worked together with our networks. We had different fundraisers. We raised enough money to now have a water tank. So he had a lot of the contacts in Kenya. So that's how we got our groundwork done because he's been there several times. So his friends there, they was able to line up the plumbers, line up the contractors, get the cost estimates for us. They did a lot of that legwork for us. And my same friend in Kenya, she had a friend who worked for the UN in Tanzania. So she connected me through some mutual friends. She connected me to him. So I had him on our side as well. So between all those that are living in Arusha, they did a lot of the upfront work, keeping the plumbers in line, making sure that they was doing a lot of the pre-construction. And what we end up doing, we end up getting a water tank, and we connected it to their existing reservoir, which is clean, purified water. So that way the water would be clean to drink if they needed to. But the intent was really not to drink it. It was really for, cleaning the school, washing their hands, or what have you. So we was able to get the tank. We bought the tank there in Arusha. We met a wonderful vendor. He gave us a good price on it. We had the tank, all the final bells and whistles connected. And if you could see the joy on these kids' face when we turn the water on, and they playing in the water, they washing their faces, they washing their hands.
Some things we take for granted.
Yes, really. So mind you now, the tank was really for the school, but it's large enough, and due to the fact that it's connected to the reservoir, it's constantly filling. So it never runs out because it's constantly flowing. Mm-hmm. So now the whole village is using that tank for their water purposes. Amazing. So this is the added bonus, right? The extra blessing that now families have clean water. They don't have to go walking.
Sean P said, we got you. I guess we was talking about the book. Sean, is it the book that you're referencing? Anyway, and
Sean and Karen are huge supporters from day one with Mission Educare. They've been really on board with whatever we needed in terms of books or contacts. So I definitely wanted to shout them out as well.
Sean asks, does Mecca, he said yes, does Mecca plan to do more projects in the Caribbean?
Yes. One of my earlier points was it's not just Africa.
Right.
And I get that question, like, why are you focusing on Africa?
Why not?
I'm like, there's no boundaries in giving.
Exactly.
Who's to say that you can only give to your neighborhood?
Why
there's
not?
No boundaries.
I don't believe in boundaries in giving.
The answer is it's not just Africa anyway. It's the Caribbean. It's here in the States. It's anywhere where kids are not getting a proper education. Now, here in the States, the needs are different, right? Of course, these kids have pencils and books, but they might not have updated computers. So we could focus on that here. So the needs will be different based on the areas that we're going to.
When did you realize that you were on the right track, doing what you love and are passionate about?
It feels right in your body. You know, when you wake up every day and you're doing what you love, it never feels like work. You know, and you're seeing the impact of it. So you just know it's right. You know when things you're doing is wrong.
Exactly.
You're going to work miserable. You can't stand everybody. Nobody's doing anything to you, but you're just mad because you don't want to be where you... And you can't perform that way.
I can testify to that. I do love what I do. What have you gotten wrong, and what have you gotten right so far in your endeavors?
What have I gotten wrong? I think one thing, if I could change,
Uh huh.
is we're doing so many countries. Sometimes I wonder, was that the best strategy as opposed to just focusing on one country continuously?
Is
Because
that
we're
what?
like spreading ourselves so
Right.
thin. So I have to balance that. Like, does that make sense? Or should we just focus on continuing to help one area until it gets strong? Or should we just spread out and do what we can?
Spread out the 5 loaves. 5 loaves. Yeah, multiple. Spread out. That's what came to you. That's what it is. Whatever is needed
Right.
to make it happen is gonna come. Um, any advice to people who are thinking of getting involved in education work?
I would say it's needed. So if you're thinking about it, please join one of either Mission Educare or one of the other organizations that are doing education work, because it's needed. The kids want to learn. And it's not like our kids here, if you don't go to school, somebody's going to come looking for you eventually, like why your kid is not in school. But there, you cannot go to school. Nobody really would even
Yet they
notice.
go.
They go. They
That's
want to
amazing.
go. Mhm.
Any philosophies that inform what you do?
Well, my one Nelson Mandela quote,
What is that?
it's always impossible until it's done.
Till it's done. I love that.
Yeah, so people tend to say, well, you can't, or it's impossible, or how are you going to? But watch me.
Who or what is motivating you these days, giving you that extra push?
I have a great network of friends who challenge. And even, like I said, everybody gets fear or doubt.
Right.
And where you feel like, okay, how is this going to happen? There's always somebody who comes at the right time to give you that extra boost. Sometimes this one gentleman, Charles Corpening, he's just full of ideas. We have a conference call every Wednesday. And not just for Mission Educare, he's just one of those empowering people. So whatever you're doing in entrepreneurship or work, he's on that call to give us motivation. So I do that call every Wednesday morning, which is tomorrow. And I look forward to that. That gives me the extra boost to hear other people's successes also.
Yes.
Helps me to know that, well, this can be done. If they can do it, I can do it. So that also helps.
What would you change? I know you mentioned a few questions ago about whether you should have done a lot or one at a time. But take this from a different perspective. What would you change if you passed this way again?
What would I change? I think I would try to get more people involved quicker.
Okay.
Because in the beginning, I was doing a lot on my own. And with Dave and I pretty much planned most of the organization. But I think if I would have expanded the network bigger, I think more ideas would have flowed and we probably would have got done quicker than just two of us. So I think I would have changed, just getting more people involved at an earlier stage.
Karen G said, I am happy that you showed how to start small and grow your dream. And Karen G said again, also your circle of influence is really inspiring. Just remember, we will meet Oprah.
Yes.
What are
Karen is Oprah. Okay.
Yeah, she is. What are the steps or how to be engaged? Well, no, let me save that. If you had the chance to go back in time, what would you tell that 11-year-old girl growing up in the Bronx?
I would tell her that the world is so big. It's bigger than the South Bronx where I was born and raised. It's bigger than Mount Haven Projects. It's where we lived as a young person. And there's so much out there in the world. So just expand your mind, expand your scope, and you'll be just more successful that way. Just be open-minded.
What's your daily habit to keep you grounded?
I pray every morning. I like me time. I do like just some time for me to, especially in the morning. I get real quiet in the mornings.
Yes.
So I like that quiet time just to gather my thoughts and plan my day or what I want to accomplish. And I love my significant other. He's a fantastic man, so he's very supportive
Good.
of everything that I do. So I'm
Good.
really
Sean P said, "Amen to that." To that,
mm-hmm.
we're not syncing right with this.
Okay.
But he probably was talking about Karen said we will meet
Meet
Oprah,
Oprah.
and I don't want to second guess Sean either. I know he's probably gonna come back later and tell us exactly what he meant.
Mm-hmm.
What is your center, your
Mm-hmm.
anchor that keeps you grounded?
Mm. Well, my belief, my
Mm.
religion, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just knowing that God loves me, that anything is possible, kind of puts everything else in perspective.
Please share some closing thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us why we should care about educating or education for the developing communities
Mm-hmm.
and how vital it is to the progress of our society.
I think we, especially here in the States, have to be open minded. We can't just focus on educating our kids here in America. You have to think about globally. And the reason that is when you read these terrible stories about terrorism, some of the reasons is because these people are not educated. They don't really go to school, they don't learn. And then their minds get corrupted to do these terrible acts. So education will help prevent some of those activities. And it also, these are the future leaders of the world, right? We are a global society. There's business trade, there's, different economic sanctions that are going on between our country and different areas. So these kids will be the ones running these countries.
Very true.
So you can't just be thinking that, it's just America that you're worried about. You have to make sure that globally that everyone is getting a proper education.
What's next for Denise Allen?
What's next for me? Well, Mission Educare will continue growing.
Uh-huh.
I'm claiming that. I'm looking forward to expanding the organization and getting more volunteers and ideas on the table.
Uh-huh.
Like I said, I would love to get technology back on the table with Mission Educare, where we could get kids learning about computers and programming. And I'm just here to serve. The bottom line is I was put on this earth to serve. And I think everyone has that same feeling. You're here to serve. You're not here to just make money for yourself and sit on it.
Yes.
You're here to give back and pay it forward.
I
So I want to be
agree.
a vessel for that whole notion.
It seems unfair that I should ask you this after you've given us so many pearls, but you seem to be such a divine living reservoir of wisdom. So I'm going to ask you, for the little boy, young girl out there listening, to give us something inspirational to close the show.
Well, we all have a responsibility to give back. So take advantage of that responsibility. Don't sit on it. Because no matter how big or small of item that you can give, it's going to impact someone. And you may think it's small to them, but it really becomes a huge deal to who you're giving to. So be that blessing to help others, and watch out because you're going to get blessed in return.
I love that. And finally, the question, and you probably anticipating this, that I ask all my guests, what makes you laugh out loud?
Talking to children. Because what comes out of their mouths is crack me up sometimes. Because they're so pure, they're so raw,
Right.
and so honest. So I love talking to children. They're too funny.
I have to say, enjoy this
Stephen.
conversation
Thank you.
immensely. From the beginning, I was enthralled. You're such a, I said just now, a reservoir. I'm going to use that word again, of information and of ideas. Your passion came out here tonight. Your commitment. I am confident that Mission Educare will continue to be successful. You have the right attitude in that you allow yourself to be the vessel you were created to be. and all the pieces, everyone who is important, who is necessary to make this a success, will find their way to you. I like that you're able to ask, or you're learning how to ask, and recognizing that asking gives other people the opportunity to give and to get their blessing. In the chat room, Sean P said, "Wonderful conversation." Thank you, Sean, and thank you, Dee, for being you.
Thank you for having me. This was a fantastic conversation.
Sean said that. I want to echo him. Yes, Sean said, thank you, Dee,
Sean.
for being you, and I want to echo that.
Oh,
I want to echo that.
Thank you both.
You're quite welcome, and now you're an official woman of CWS.
Oh, what an honor.
I am honored to have you. I enjoy this conversation. I'm sitting here feeling guilty of my thoughts, and I'm thinking, gosh, I wish it was longer. But we'll give you an opportunity to come back another time.
I would love that.
Yes, and we have to have a panel.
That would be great.
We must have a panel. We'll talk to Karen and Sean and see what we can do. But thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Any parting words?
No, and I just want to thank all the great questions on the chat. I definitely appreciate that. And you're doing a fantastic job. So
Oh, thank you.
All the blessings to you as well.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Baby, I'm not gonna wait no more. You know that I love you, so this is what I gotta say. I've been really trying, baby, trying to hold back this feeling for so long. And if you feel like I feel, come on, come on, come on, come on. Hey, let's get it on. Let's get it on. Let's get it on.